Welcome to this show today with DK, David Klöber from Melbourne. Hello, David.
Hello, John.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you, to talk with you, former colleague, and of course, David is also has also a German background like me. And today we were just wondering about how to get started with online marketing in the new year, especially SMBs who might struggle to get started. And I'm really looking forward to what you have to say now, because obviously there are many companies out there, not only in Australia, also in Germany, also in the US, and all over the world, who want to do some digitization, some digital marketing, but have no fucking idea what they should be doing, right?
Or even what they shouldn't, what they shouldn't do.
But they shouldn't.
Or not, and not continue to do, please. Look, it's, we sometimes talk about different websites we're working on and results and what we can do and can't do in some cases. But I think, to just kind of like get started on the topic, SMBs, that stands for small to medium businesses, right? Just to be clear. So anyone who's running a company, if it's one person to 10, 15, those companies rely on, frequent inquiries to come through, either by, referrals, could be past current clients who are just referring work to you. On the other hand, it might be that you have a website or, some digital asset or app that just displays your brand, your content, your services, products, whatsoever, and which you then distribute onto different platforms with traffic. So in our case, or in mine specifically, I'm specialized within the search side of things, so paid and organic search. And I think what I've found very interesting, or what I have seen a lot recently, is that when accounts come to me or new clients, when I onboard them, they sometimes haven't really asked themselves the long-term question of where they want to be. And I think they just get carried away really quickly with, hey, I've heard about the SEO thing we should do, and I know that my competitors are doing it, and we should probably start running ads, and we should be on YouTube, we should run this on Facebook, which is, I think, all great in doing so. But firstly, you really have to go down to the basics and just look at what you currently have, and you try to advertise and offer. So I guess, I think I'll just continue to ramble on. I think one tip out there for small, medium businesses would be, if you look at your own, if you say you want to start with SEO, with the organic side of things, you need to understand that this will take time, especially when it's there for long-term growth. And the first thing you want to do is, that's regardless if you want to do Facebook or and therefore social media or paid search advertising, is it all links back to your main asset, which is perhaps your website, because you control the website, you own the content on it, ideally. And that's the first thing you want to make sure, that this is spick and span. This is really up to date, by best practices, which means people can visit your website on mobile without having to scroll into your text. It loads fast enough, and it just is very easy to navigate through. And it boils down to, why am I here for? I was looking for a service solution, and then how can I get in contact with that business, the business owner, or the specialist in need. So these are kind of like really the key basic ingredients to a successful marketing campaign, whatever channel you pick.
I totally agree with you on this one. And when you're saying the basics, I would even go one step further and say, guys, if you want to engage with an SEO agency, SEA, whatever, content marketing, you need to be clear about your overall goals. right?
Yeah.
I think this is what I see in my daily talks with some people like management, CEOs, whatsoever. They are not even clear about their own business goals. And I think I find it
Yeah.
super difficult, yeah, to come up with a strategy if the management or the founder or whoever doesn't even know where this whole thing should be going into, right? Which direction and
It also shows you, it indicates usually that a few weeks or months down into the campaign, you will find difficulties on proving that you have been working on the right things and that you have been progressing into the right direction, because you assume you assume a goal which hasn't really been spoken about besides numbers. People say, all right, I want 50% more traffic and I want 30% more inquiries, but then those are just metrics where I can bring you a ton of traffic, but it might not be relevant. Your inquiries might have gone up, but they were all wrong because we were advertising the wrong type of service. It's just, and it is really such a basic, it sounds basic, we say it, but it sometimes doesn't seem to be very clear for business owners when they approach someone to help them with, optimizing their site and bringing more traffic to it, that they should sit down and really think about what they do, what their core service is, what they like to get inquiries for, or would like to gain traffic in, and build their brand on. And from there, you can pick the right channels and tools and tactics to get there. Because sometimes I can tell you, all good things about digital and search, but then I realized, hang on, you probably should be on social first. So you need to speak to someone else, because, it might be that if you say, yes, I can provide a lot of content. For example, by the way, when it comes to content, my personal experience is that it is a very big process for the company I'm consulting, that they provide me with all the content, because it's, they know exactly what they do. They know their service best. They know how to talk. They know their language in how they speak as a brand. And that's why I expect them to kind of like come up with, all the information on their services. And if there's no clear goal, it's hard to kind of like tell them what type of content you need. And that's where they say, right, we have never really asked our question. We have never really asked ourselves this question. So therefore we engage in an agency who can write content, and they're like, yeah, we're happy. We are content writers. That's what we do. So we'll write you 10 articles for 500 words. Here you go. Thank you very much. And then you upload all of them. And all of a sudden, yes, you might get a little bit more traffic. You rank for keywords. But I tell you what, with the next update, you'll lose all these rankings because they're not relevant. The traffic, you probably wouldn't have even tracked properly, because you will see that none of the action have been taken out of that traffic. No one have contacted you. No one has signed up for a newsletter. No one has downloaded anything, and so forth, right? So no one has subscribed to your social media channels. So that's kind of like all coming to you after months of work, a lot of money spent. And then you will sit there saying, it hasn't worked for me. I don't want to invest any further in it. And again, when I take on those kind of clients, it takes a lot of time to explain what actually happened. Then they will realize, okay, it was a little bit of a mistake from their side to be very naive to go into that, thinking that they can just pay someone else to grow their business. Yeah. So know your goals. Know yourself. Know yourself as a business, because digital marketing won't be very helpful if you really don't understand yourself. And I guess that comes to, I think, a second tip I have. Even if you know where you want to go, what services you would like to promote and advertise on, and let's say you have picked paid search as an example alongside organic search, because when you optimize for paid or for organic, it usually goes hand in hand, because you optimize the same website, you optimize the same assets on that website. If it's content, videos, your contact forms, even the way how it's displayed on a mobile device, all that has benefits for any channel you promote on. But if you pick paid search and you structure, what you do is, I mean, you would have probably a specialist who's going to structure out your campaign. And what they do is, depending on what you want to promote, let's say you have a service, and let's say you are selling, what would be a good product? Let's say air conditioning. Let's say you're selling air conditioning units, then you need to ask yourself, are you selling those air conditioning units for residential properties, for commercial, industrial? So there are different types of traffic which can come to your site. So all you can think about in your head right now is, I want to rank for air conditioning. I want to be #1 for air conditioning. But then you forget that you never know exactly who's behind the screen searching for air conditioning and why they're looking for it. It might be they want to download a description of their just installed air conditioning because they don't know how to switch it on. Then you might lose out traffic and money on that one to bid on as a keyword. Or you lose out on someone who is has an air conditioning unit. He wants to probably build up on it or just get it service maintenance, but it's commercial, but you only do residential. And he also might sit in Berlin and you are actually in Munich. So what it means is you haven't really set clear structure for the campaign you're building in that paid account, and therefore you lose out on a lot of money. So you really need to start small by saying, what is the core service you're doing? If it's installing new air conditioning, great. Are you doing it for all types of houses or environments? No, I'm just doing residential. Fantastic. All right, just residential. But where do you do it? I'm doing it in Munich. Okay, so do you go out 20 kilometers from the city center? Oh, no, just within the 5-kilometer radius. Oh, fantastic, because it's not Munich. It's just perhaps 1 or 2, 3 suburbs.
Yeah.
And then if you have that kind of information, then the next question is, where do you send the traffic to? Well, I have this page. You look onto this page and you realize there's no phone number, no contact form. There's not even really a clear message saying you came from an ad, which was very clear on what you do, but then you're not talking about how you're going to do it, when, where, how you'll be able to be contacted, because they are all just very small. It sounds like they're small things, but when I'm on a mobile device and I'm looking for someone to install an air conditioning, I'm not going to give you 5 phone calls to figure it out. There are many more other websites I can browse on. So it's just a matter of, does that page look appealing to me in terms of, is that guy actually able to fulfill my problem at the moment or not? And that just takes a couple of milliseconds, I guess. So that's kind of like, where it all comes together. So if we just loop back, going to the basics, understanding what goals you want to hit. So in our example, it would be to sell more air conditioning installation for residential properties around a specific suburb in Munich. Then we'll look at, where do you want to drive the traffic to, and make sure that this is all set up well before we even start spending money on a single click. And that's where things go really pear-shaped, because people love to work for you and they love to do things for you, but they don't start at the basics sometimes.
And yeah, I love your example actually, and I do love also that you started with knowing yourself, knowing your business. And I would also say it's, in this context, it's super important to know your ideal customers, because we're talking about the right target groups here. You need to understand, where are those people, who are they, who might want to get your service, your product, whatsoever. And I think that's a very important business and marketing, like strategic marketing thing or question that needs to be answered.
Yeah.
And this totally ties into all this, what you were saying, right?
That's a very good point. Now, when we talk about the perfect customer, you might think, oh, it's, John, who has a two-room apartment living in that suburb. Yes, that's one thing. But on the other hand, as another example, I have a client who's selling batteries. They're selling battery as an uninterruptible power supply. So let's say if you have a server running in your office and you would have a outage of electricity, those batteries would jump in to power your server for a couple of hours. Now, what you will realize is that those batteries, you can buy them for your own home PC. So technically we have the same customers because both of them have PCs, they have a server, they both have their homes, and they need the battery for the exactly same reason. But where the difference lies in right now is the difference between my client is only selling batteries 1 kilowatt per hour upwards. So all the household, people looking for their own home supply, that's not their audience. They are overlaying it with each other very similarly. And it's, trust me, it is really, really hard to, and because you are blending in B2B with B2C, and vice versa, because sometimes you need, especially in paid search, you need to overlay into each other a little bit to not miss out on some of the search queries or the right audience types. But you need to be careful that you're not completely into both if one is not really your target audience, because you can lose a lot of money. B2C will always probably, in certain areas, will grab your money first before B2B will, because there are much more search volume, search inquiries for that.
Yeah, very good point. I was not thinking about this aspect, but totally right. Yeah.
And it's the same with SEO. Sometimes what we do is, look, it happens to the best of us. And that's, I think, we have learned as digital marketers, and especially, helping so many website owners, businesses, with getting the right traffic to their site. It is really coming down to understanding what the business does, which is a big part of what we do. Because, let's say if we start working with a small business, I need a couple of days and probably a few meetings with you to understand really what you do, where you've come from, and why you're now approaching me and helping you to grow your organic visibility and reach. And then I can really look at that from your position and say, okay, from my experience, you need to provide these kind of information on the website before you can really have any results in getting those kind of inquiries coming to you. And that's a lot what we do. In organic, we would build new pages, we would consolidate pages to just find the right type of information to the right keywords. So yeah, the more information we have about your business and where you want to go, the better we can do our research and put you into the right step.
So would you say then that the first, let's say, hours or even days of work that you're putting into this would be some sort of a consulting gig or collecting intelligence? Or
with consulting, let's say before I actually go and do my work, I guess I will spend my first few hours on just understanding the business owner, because that's also part of who I work with, because I need to understand if I work with someone I can partner up with over a longer period of time, if they have also the same kind of like understanding and mindset, because sometimes you will realize that there's a lot of training to be done before you can actually grow something. So I can't, and I don't expect anyone or everyone to be on the same knowledge level as I am on how digital works, with what the metrics mean, and how to look at, even competitive metrics, which is another topic we can talk about, where you have a lot of clients coming to you saying, hey, I've seen these ads, I've seen my competitor doing this, I want exactly that. And then you actually look at it and you know that, hang on a second, he doesn't actually do it that well. Like he is advertising above you, and he does certain things you are not doing currently, but from what I can see, he's not even going in the right direction you want to go, because you might only partially overlap with what he offers. And So what I do is that there is a bit of time up front to just, yeah, talk about, you know, the basics. And I guess what sometimes happens is that we say, look, the campaign won't start until we have a document together where we outline our strategy. And that might take a couple of calls, a couple of days, because personally, I love to document everything, because we just look back on the same brief every time when we talk about, you know, the results, and just say, okay, just to remember, this is what we've discussed. This is how we have set up our strategy. And you will realize that if everything goes well, you will never touch this document again. And what it means is, if that document in the beginning gets kind of like the sign off from the client, but you highly likely will not see it ever again. It just, because if you explain, yeah, okay, we do this, we do that, and then you actually put it in writing and they read, let's say the keywords, the ad copy, they will read the content you're going to publish, the site structure you're going to roll out, and then visually they will understand, like, oh, right, so this is what you mean. Okay, so I've planned in 3 months that I get a new service added to this and that. I'm like, oh, okay, hang on. So you need to tell me that now, because with SEO, for example, for the organic side of things, it will take us a while to bring you there. So the earlier we know about it, you know, the sooner we can work on it. And once you're ready to go with your service to sell, we'll make sure that the visibility is, you know, up there.
Super
So, yeah.
interesting. I love it, David. It's so many things, so many strategic things. And I think SMBs and all other business owners who want to get started this year, the year's still very young, can take away some insights about basic, like define your status quo, define where you want to be in 3, 6, 12 months from now, or even longer, define your target group or the channels that would make sense. Doesn't have to be everything, cannot be everything. Dependent from the industry, you have a set of channels and platforms that you might want to use, SEO, paid search, whatever lead generation mechanisms you wanna build, right? But I think what I get from this is, on one hand, it's super basic, like essentials need to be covered, but on the other hand, it's very complicated. And
yeah, look, it's it depends always, I guess, on the situation we're in, on what we try to improve, and I think it's just a world where, you know, we both know, everyone knows that the web itself it's every day something else is just adding to it, and it's reinventing certain areas, and it's just, what wasn't possible today technically will be possible tomorrow, you know, if it comes to tracking certain things, if there are tools available which just cut your process times and your management into half, or just remove it entirely because you can automate certain things. It just opens up more and more and more opportunities. But at the end of the day, personally, I've learned that it doesn't matter what channel you're going to use, because if you're relying on humans to interact with you, this is how you need to come across. Because everyone comes to me and say, hey, I need an SEO copywriter. And I'm like, well, how about you just need a copywriter to begin with, and then you go to an SEO specialist to give you a hand with, you know, it's like me going to the GP and saying, you know, well, while I'm here, you need to be a heart specialist. You know, it's just like, you're a doctor, but, you know, there's so many areas in the human body you can specialize yourself in. So if you want to get someone to just buy into your brand, into your service and products, start at the basics. Start at the real fundamentals of who you are, why you're different than others, show you unique selling proposition, so to speak. And, you know, why should someone choose you to install my air conditioning over someone else, even if they have a cheaper price? You might persuade them over with 1-2 sentences over, you know, if it's just that you have a longer quality, or you just use quality tools or service agreements so that you're not stuck years down the road when your company doesn't exist, etc. Especially in solar panel, for example, when I work with solar clients, what they are using is, instead of selling you cheap solar, which everyone can offer, they say you might spend a little bit more with us, and we are quite upfront about it. But at the same time, you're buying from brands which have a worldwide footprint. Those, from a search engine perspective, it doesn't make a difference that you're ranking for keywords. From a human perspective, if I read that, yes, that is kind of like giving me a reason to reach out to you before anyone else.
Absolutely, I totally like this, especially this human approach. We at Carpo Marketing, we stress this very, very much, that we, after all, are human beings who interact, who educate themselves, in this very complex digital arena, and who grow together to achieve something. And I think this is what makes a huge difference, for sure, to have this human element, given all the automation and all the streamlining, all the optimization of processes and stuff. After all, we buy from human beings, and we wanna also buy from human beings or get their services, and not from machines.
Yeah, my favorite kind of like exercise is if someone gives me a list of keywords and say, all right, I ignore everything you say, David, this is what I'm ranking for, which is never a good start. But then I'll just take the keywords and type them in front of the client with sharing my screen. And we together go through the search results on page 1. And then we just kind of like dissect everything. Why would Google show me those kind of information? And then the client will quickly realize that the terms they've used, which are usually very short, that none of the listings or websites which are displayed are actually competitors. They are information sites. They're price they're price matching machines, or they are just they are maps, they are videos, they are imagery. Because Google is like, hang on, you're searching for such a broad topic. I need to deliver you something where you can just point me more in the right direction before I can give you something very specific in that area. And that's where we can then take a step back and say, all right, yeah, you're right. I've never really looked at that, from a human perspective. I've never been the person at the other end searching it, trying to find myself. It's just, yeah.
Oh.
It's a small thing to do. To get someone to realize what it actually means to jump on search, because we do it so automatically these days that we never question really what we do. It's just like, hey Google, tell me more about this. It's like, oh no Google, you got this wrong. I add a few more words to my search phrase, and you will see that your search phrase becomes longer and longer. The longer it gets, it just means that you exactly know now what you need and what problem you're looking for. And guess what? You can optimize exactly for that. Beautifully, with great content, without having to write a lot, without having it to over optimize for SEO, but just to write it where you provide the correct answer with the right facts and information.
Cool. So David, just to wrap it up now, I think it's been almost half an hour. It's the longest video we ever had here, I think. I'm not sure, but it's super cool. I'm pretty sure we will dig more into some specific topics later on, hopefully. If there's one single thing you would point out for people who want to get started now in online marketing, SEO, SEA, whatever, what would you say? Do this first in order to be successful? I know it's difficult if there's even only one thing, but maybe there's one thing.
It's like you asking you how to get fit. It's just like, wow, where do we start? Nutrition, it is hard because paid, organic. I think try to probably come back to the point where you want to understand where would your customers, your potential future customers, would go to find you, your solution, your product, your service.
Mm.
Just, you can, even you already know, and you say, look, majority, honestly, just jumps onto their mobile phone, onto their tablet or PC, and is basically asking search or Google search for, I need this service, I have this problem, etc., etc. And then just kind of like build from there, saying, all right, my majority of users would come from search. So my site, my website, my web asset needs to be search engine friendly.
Mm.
And you can, what we call is the lowest hanging fruit. So don't focus on the bling bling, which is like, for example, at the moment, voice search, which is great to optimize for if you have existing content. But even if you do, it's really hard at the moment with analytics and conversion tracking to have an attribution focus on that. But if you just go down to just simple text search, how you could appear and what you would write and put on your website.
I think that's a very good wrap up, and it sums up many things here, looking at the customer journey. Where are they? What are they doing? Why are they reading this or not? And what's the behavior? I think this is basically a very good summary of what we were talking about. Thank you so much, David, for taking time. I really loved it. I appreciate it. And I learned a lot from it. And I hope our viewers were also learning a lot from this.
I think, yeah, we'll have a lot more great topics to talk about.
100% looking forward to it. And who knows, maybe you will be a regular guest here in our YouTube channel. I would be certainly more than happy about it.
Yeah, it sounds good. Awesome. Thank you very much, John, for having me.
Thank you. Bye.